Diversity.
Good.
Equity.
Good.
Inclusion.
Good.
I don't think anyone would disagree that all of these things on their own are great. But you put them together, DEI, is that a good thing? Hey guys, it's Daniel, licensed therapist, and that is a question we're going to answer today. But first off, I have to say that we're going to answer this not on a societal level or an institutional level. We're going to answer it on a psychological and individual level. And who better to speak about it than a woman of color? Codie Sanchez was recently on the Iced Coffee Hour podcast. And if you don't know Codie, she had a super successful career in finance. She's a successful entrepreneur and she buys businesses. And she has a YouTube channel that has over 1 million subs. And I gotta say, guys, I love the Iced Coffee Hour podcast. It's been one of my favorites recently. And if you have a podcast that you think would be interesting for me to check out and react to, leave it in the comments down there. And while you're there, leave a like and subscribe. Anyways, the boys did a great job asking her about DEI. So let's check out this clip and see if we can't answer the question.
And what about women specifically? It's not very often that we get actually a woman on the show. Most of the time they're guys, and then same for the viewers. Most of the viewers are guys, but for the women watching right now, how would they do it? And then also on top of that, what are your thoughts, since it's in the news right now, on DEI?
Yeah. Well, let's start with DEI because that's a fun one. I think DEI is really harmful for members of the diversity and inclusion group. And the reason why I think it's harmful is because you're immediately labeling yourself as someone who needs help, as someone who is less than, as someone who is a victim in one shape or form. And, I remember many times I would get speech requests or I would get somebody asking me to be on a board or something, and they would say, we need a female CEO. And I just said, no. If you need a CEO, we can talk. But if you want to speak to me only because I have a vagina as opposed to a penis, that makes no sense in business. What's the difference? The only time that makes sense is if I'm trying to go for a female audience, particularly and my anatomy in some way is necessary for the business to move forward. But I actually think it does us a huge disservice to focus in this specific way.
Ooh, already this is a very different take than I think a lot of people were expecting, because DEI was meant to help people like Codie. But here she's saying that it's harmful. And she says something very interesting. She says labeling yourself. And when she said labeling yourself, it made me think of two things that I see all the time in therapy, which is identity and how you define yourself, and narrative. Look, everyone is telling themselves a story all the time to explain what's going on. And that story is based on our experiences and the circumstances that we're in. And let's say you're a gay woman, you have this amazing job. You can have a creeping thought that you don't really belong there because some higher up said,
put a ticket in, make her gay.
And that wouldn't exactly be a good feeling. But I don't think that always has to be the case. I feel like if you're a gay woman, you can bring something to the table and you can have that belief in yourself. So I agree with what Codie's saying, but I don't know if it applies to everybody. Let's keep going.
Now, do I think that there is a huge advantage to be part of a powerful majority? Yes, 100%. Being part of a powerful majority is real in any situation. And so, there were many times where I felt like I got left out because I was a woman, where I didn't, and not even from a sexist perspective, from a very reasonable perspective. Like, if I was single, and, you have your lovely fiance here. And, I was texting you late at night and we were only talking about business stuff, but then we were going to go grab dinner. She might be like, it's a little weird. Like, why are you, don't do that. Respect what we have here. Right. And that's totally reasonable. But if most of the men at the top are, the ones in powerful positions, if Jack was, texting you late at night doing that, she wouldn't care. You wouldn't think anything of it. And so inherently there's like a little bit of difference between the two.
Sure.
And I think we have to realize that.
I like Codie's mindset here, and she's right. Life isn't fair. And as a woman in the financial industry, she faced a lot of these natural disadvantages. But you know what I don't hear? I don't hear her complaining. She does acknowledge the reality of the disadvantages, but she doesn't take on that complaining attitude, which would cause a lot of negative emotions. And those negative emotions could definitely hinder her in her trying to be successful. It just takes up space and it takes away your focus of what you're trying to achieve. And what she's trying to achieve is to kick butt in finances, to make a lot of money, to be successful. So you can see how her mindset actually assists her in staying focused. So I am actually very impressed right now.
Does it feel, or have you gotten comments of people saying like, oh, you are where you are because of DEI? Because I wonder if now that's like working against people like you who have gotten to the position you're in purely based off of merit.
Yeah. No, I mostly get, must be nice having daddy's trust fund, or, did your husband make all the money? Or,
do you get pretty privilege ever?
No, I would be like, no, like that comment.
Yes, absolutely pretty privilege.
I do tend to believe, like anything somebody says to me, I try to flip it to the perspective of how could this help me, as opposed to why is this annoying? Mm-hmm. And so I try to just let that roll off.
Once again, great job. Negative comments are not an easy thing to deal with. And unfortunately, they're kind of unavoidable in life. But I love what she does with it. I feel like she deals with it pretty perfectly, and she does two things. First of all, she does not initially get triggered by it. She doesn't get offended by it. And what does that do? It keeps her away from having those negative emotions. And those negative emotions, they really hinder you from being able to control what you think. And number two, which I find very, very impressive, is she dictates how she's going to take that negative comment. So what does she do? She flips it from an insult to a constructive criticism, or she uses it as motivation. I love that. What was meant to harm her and hinder her, she uses it as fuel, once again, to be laser focused on her goal. I think this is really great.
But no, you know what annoys me is that I actually, this is maybe dumb, I did not really think that misogyny or sexism really existed very much anymore in the US before I got on the internet, because my best mentors were men, like asexually, like, not in any way, shape, or form like that. I'm incredibly close to my dad, my brother. I have an incredible husband. Most of my team is guys. And so I have a lot of respect for the opposite sex, and I never really got it. I didn't think I got pushed back because of that. I thought there were, in some instances, but we all have those. Maybe I had an unfair advantage here and they didn't. I'm easy to remember. You're not. If everybody's name is Jack, Jake, Todd, Chad, like harder, right? And so I kind of thought it was good. But then I got on the internet. And I did find that, man, people are nuts on the internet.
What are they saying? Like,
for instance, must be nice you were a secretary at Goldman Sachs. That one bothered me. Like, I had a tweet reel go really, really viral. And yeah, it's like somebody, and they get rolling together, and so they're like, yeah, I bet she was a secretary there. And then, then I'm like, I'm going to show them my U4. I'm going to show them my FINRA register. And I was like, Jesus
But
Christ,
then they're like, oh, I bet she was flirting with someone there.
That one I haven't really gotten, but only maybe from other women.
Sure.
I think men kind of know that, like deep down in men's gut, like, I don't know, how many times are you promoting to the CEO of a company a woman that you slept with? Like, you're just not fucking doing it. There's not really a way to like sleep your way to the top, maybe unless you're in Hollywood. Like, you're just not going to do it because it's money. And the one thing we all know in business is that people care more about money than anything else. You can't really sleep your way to the top there. Politics, maybe, where money doesn't matter. Hollywood, maybe, where there's a dime a dozen girls and a lot of people with talent, maybe. But in business, it's not really a thing.
I thought this was really interesting because coming into this video, you would think that she would be all over DEI and the woman experience, because I feel like that's the prevailing narrative in our society. Women just have it so hard in these situations. And to hear that she didn't even think about it until she got on the internet, you gotta love the internet, is very interesting. And you know what it says to me? There is a lack of victim mentality. The victim mentality is so destructive. It's a disempowering mentality where you blame everything else. It's everyone else's fault or the situation's fault, and you don't take any personal responsibility, but then you don't take any empowerment in the situation. It's something I see all the time with my clients in therapy. It's something I try to battle because nothing good comes from being a victim.
Who can be more vicious adversaries, men or women, as far as the commenting and the hate?
I think men categorically. You know, I think there's a little army of really pale vitamin D deficient dudes in basements who haven't achieved anything that get triggered as fuck by women who have.
Graham and I are
Just
both.
describe Jack.
No. We're both very pale. We're both very pale.
Hey, come on,
Okay?
man. I don't think so. A little darker.
I'm just hairy. I think it's just the
I think
hair that's.
I just have a lot of makeup. You can't even tell. Like, what is my real color? Who knows? No, I think if you ask most women on the internet who most of the trolls are, it's men. It'd be fascinating if there's a study on that, but I anticipate that that's true pretty much across the board. And I actually understand why. Because if men were told that masculinity is tied to money and success, and that women will not choose you if you don't make more money than them, then of course they're going to lash out at women that have been more successful at them and that have more money than them, because they've defined that as masculine and they think that somehow we're taking that away from them. And there's been a lot of, women that are tough on men these days. So I actually get it in some way, shape, or form. Still pisses me off. But women, by and large, are like nice on the internet. I mean, the comments women have are like, it's the best, they're like, yeah, girl, you
boss,
do it.
yeah.
Blah, blah, thanks,
Yeah.
But maybe that's different if you're like a Kardashian or a beauty expert. I don't know.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
Hold up. Wait a minute.
Did this woman just demonstrate compassion and empathy for her haters? Okay, to be fair, she called them vitamin C deficient dudes who haven't achieved anything. But I even like that narrative because it gives a lot of context to who is saying the hate and why they're saying it. You know what she could have easily done, which I think is the norm, is to just take those comments at face value. And a lot of people do that. They take hate comments at face value and it just eats away at them. And she could have done that and it would have eaten away at her, but she doesn't do that. In fact, I feel like you can tell that the hate comments don't seem to bother her too much. And I feel like understanding somebody really robs them of their power to negatively affect you. Okay, look, I am beyond impressed with Codie. I feel like her ability to not be a victim, to interpret negative comments and negative situations and turn them into motivating factors, her ability to control the narrative is really impressive. And I feel like it is one of the big reasons why she's so successful, like I said. And also to me, it makes her look like just a very strong person. But let's answer the question, is DEI bad? Because that is what Codie is saying. DEI is bad. And I have a hard time disagreeing with her. I think in a lot of cases it is bad, but you know what? I don't think it needs to be bad for everybody. And I think Codie is a wonderful demonstration of that. If you can control the narrative, if you don't see yourself as a victim, then it doesn't have to be bad. I do believe that there's a trap of feeling entitled or feeling like an imposter or feeling disempowered. But if you can avoid that trap, I think that it's fine. I don't think there's one thing that applies to everybody when it comes to mindset, because I feel like Codie has been successful because she's been able to avoid those things that detract from her achieving her goal. So be very careful that you're not in some kind of mindset that detracts from you from achieving your goal. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you next time.